And I'd like to give you a little bit of background. I don't know why I decided that or had an inkling to do something that was non-branded, but I've been sensing for many of us or all of us or whatever that that sometimes product stuff feels like selling, and that if we get so focused on can I get new customers, can I get people signed up and all the rest of this stuff, then sorry, this is at the wrong end of this presentation here. That what I was reminded of is a handful of time ago, I don't know, years ago, whatever, that we did some non-branded presentations. And what the purpose of that is, rather than walking around with the Shackley banner on, was to realize that we have the opportunity to be really powerful educators to people. And so as I sort of looked at redefining what it is that we can contribute, it's really helping to educate people to be proactive in creating a wellness lifestyle for themselves. And that seems to fit into like three categories. One of them is prenatal young kids raising healthy children, because as we think about some of the, I mean, you don't even want to get into it. I mean, how many of the kids are on, breathing things and have asthma and all kinds of allergies and all the rest of that, and the connections that there may be to a wellness lifestyle, whether it's things they're breathing, things they're eating, whatever it is. But what are some of the choices that we can make in order to do a better job of raising our kids? And Betsy and I go back from the beginning of that. It was always a pleasure to know that when her oldest and mine were playing together, that I always knew it was a safe place to go, because she didn't have toxic stuff in the house, that the food that they were going to eat was going to be healthy snacks, that we didn't have to think about, what kind of crazy stuff are they going to come back with. And to be able to have that kind of comfort level with people that have a similar focus on wellness has always been a gift. And I think it's something that we can contribute. So that's one area of being proactive. The second area of being proactive is taking people that are fit and maybe having them even more fit and more accomplished, maybe with some Olympic coaches and some Olympic role models. And then the third is aging gracefully. So whatever age we are, being able to weather some of the changes that go on that all have to do with a wellness lifestyle. So and this is just some background. So the idea is, for example, there's a school nearby that I've done stuff with, and I remember being asked to come in and just do a presentation on wellness. And I said, I'm not going to go in and do a business presentation. I'm not going to put the name of the products there. What I want to do is educate people on why and how they might want to do something, and then give them the option of coming and saying, if we want to know some more, we can do that. So that's what I'm going to show you. This is a kind of an updated one. It's what we're going to use at the beginning of our Miami program, so that if people want to invite someone who maybe is already committed to some other product line or whatever, that they don't feel like they're going to get, brought into just a Shackley world, but that we can educate them. So that's what this is. And so I'll share this with you. It's rough, but it's the idea. And so I'm interested in comments. So these, as I said, are kind of the three areas of wellness: raising healthy kids, having Olympic mentors for whatever the performance is, and then being able to age gracefully. So whoever the presenters can do this. In this case, this is a couple of our business team who are actually helping to co-host this event. And so this is an introduction to them. So the question is, what is wellness? Well, it's living your life consciously in ways that improve your health and well-being. And my market for this is people that may not even think that way. They have such busy lives. They got a couple of kids that they have to stop and buy snacks for, and everybody's got this craziness going on. And so, what is wellness? It's trying to be able to live our life consciously in ways that can improve our health and well-being. So, why is it important to care about this? Well, we can go through all kinds of great resources on this. One of them is approximately 50% of the population has chronic diseases. And I've seen the figures actually more than 60% of the US population has some kind of chronic diseases. 86% of healthcare costs are attributable to chronic diseases. And changing behavior in relation to health habits is maybe difficult and complex. And a lot of people don't really understand the change in product in the changing process. But many people who struggle with poor health and vitality, it's because they may lack the motivation or the skills and the knowledge and the resources to make these kinds of changes. So what we can maybe do is just offer ourselves as resources. So the health and wellness kinds of strategies are looking at where somebody is on this continuum. So over here is premature death with disease developing. And this is in the middle, sort of a comfort zone with a false feeling of wellness. And over here is developing wellness, and then having some much higher examples of wellness level. So if we take a look at these, over here is 100% function, continuous development. Here it's regular exercise, good nutrition, and so on. Neutral is no bad real symptoms, inconsistent, sporadic exercise. Health is not a real high priority, but then that's how we end up getting over here. I just talked to someone today who was starting to have some issues with, I don't know what, breathing, stomach, whatever it was, and saying, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to go to the doctor. They're going to give me a modest amount of tests. They're not going to really know what the issue is, and they're going to prescribe some medications that, says that's just the way it's going to be. So this is what happens. And then, of course, we end up over here on the disease side. So our commitment is to do what we can to keep people to be educated over here. So again, this is not branded. This is just our education. So what are some of the strategies for that? Let me see if I lost a screen. There are 5 different lifestyle factors that have been shown to reduce the risk of things like type 2 diabetes. One of them is having a healthy diet. Secondly is keeping an ideal body weight. Third is having a level of physical activity. 4 is not smoking. And 5 is minimizing excess alcohol use. So what's important to our customers, the 2 things that are really important to our customers is products that are safe and products that are proven. That's what people want to look for. That slide is actually out of order. So of these strategies for health and wellness, these 5 lifestyle factors have been shown to reduce the type 2 diabetes. So men who adopted all 5 of those lifestyle factors lowered their risk of developing diabetes by 72%. And women lowered their risk of developing diabetes by 84%. I mean, that's pretty dramatic. And there's nothing like radical about what's being suggested. So what are some of the issues? I love this picture. Well, number one is the products, the one problem is we're not really eating right. And P.S., we're probably not feeding our kids in a super healthy way. Problem number 2 is that even so-called healthy food is not necessarily as nutritious as it once was. The soil has changed, the number of whether it's, fertilizers or pesticides or whatever it is that's done to the vegetables and things have reduced the nutritiousness of some of the foods that we're consistently eating. And then the question is, does commercialism contribute to the poor quality of our food? And there are quite a number of studies and information that shows that you can hear my dog. I don't know what's going on there, but there are quite a number of studies that show that as our diet is slightly skewed in the not wonderfully healthy direction, that what this does is it begins craving sweets. And by craving for sweets, that begins actually accelerating some of the issues that cause some of these health problems. So what are some of the impacts of commercialism on our foods? Well, 90% of our people are dependent upon commercial interests for their food supplies. I mean, we don't raise our own foods. And the farmer is eager to grow 2 ears of corn in place of one, so he's more likely to use chemical fertilizers. So the impacts of commercialism, the effects of some of these chemicals may reduce the nutritional value. Now, for all of us on this call, this is like stupid. I mean, like, who needs to see this stuff? But remember, we're not our own market. We're talking to people who are out there leaving some of the crazy lifestyles and don't really know that there's anything that they could begin to do. So realizing the effect of some of these chemicals may reduce the nutritional value. And so it is with all the processing of foods, almost without exception. And so if it gives us a chance to kind of look at, what are some of the choices that I'm making? So problem number 3 is, as we are less physically active, we need fewer calories, but we tend to continue to eat the same calories without the physical activity, besides which the calories are not necessarily as healthy, but then that ends up being an option to start putting on weight. So with a sedentary lifestyle, all the nutrients that we need, therefore, need to come from fewer calories. So it changes the components of what we actually take in. So problem number 4 is a contamination of the food supply. And this is one of the results of that is obesity, which is increasing globally. And we increase the risk of about 80 different medical conditions by people who tend to be overweight. And then result number 2 is we may have a lot more toxins inside of us, which can be little bits of heavy metals and pesticides and industrial chemicals and pathogens and all the rest of that, which are just kind of walking around. And in that chart, remember we had the spectrum. That's probably kind of in the middle where we don't really know these things are going on, but they're there. So what we're talking about is the possibility of lasting lifestyle changes that could make a difference for ourselves and for our families. So need number 3 is we probably need to have better wellness education. And that option is to encourage and support people with some better diet plans, encourage them to realize the importance of supplementation, because as the value of the food has decreased, the need and requirement for supplementation to bring that food up to its, supposedly best example, that has increased. So the old story about, oh, I can get everything I need from my food is probably a very old and not anymore realistic thing because of all the things that we've talked about. So what do? We can certainly support better agriculture. We can do an even better job of educating some of our healthcare professionals with some options. So we need better wellness education. So if we do this as an introduction to people about, well, what are you talking about? Then what I would say is the next 2 things then come up. Again, we have offered no solutions. We've given no brand. Well, one of the things that we say is that 2 things we know about our customers. Our customers are people that are smart. They like to do their homework and they're very busy. And the other one, what our customers are looking for is they're looking for products that are safe and products that are proven. That's what they're looking for. But the reality is they are so busy that they can spend all the time on the internet they want, or they can go into the store and try to read labels. And generally, you just go blind and you have no idea what you're actually reading. It gets to be too complicated. And so people either end up freezing and doing nothing, or they just sort of go random. And so what our invitation is, if this sounds like you, and if you'd like to know what we have found that checks all these boxes, then reach out and we're happy to talk to you privately about what we've found, because we have done our homework and we had the same questions that you did. So that's just kind of a general overview.